Today on Business Next, we welcome back to the program one of our frequent guests, and he's a frequent guest because he does such a great job. Tom Borg, business consultant. Tom, welcome back to Business Next.
Thank you, Michael. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You always have some really interesting things to share with our small business listeners. Today, we're going to be talking about some leadership action ideas that can help make your small business more profitable. Everybody likes that. Tom, how do we get started out here? Maybe talking about motivation?
Absolutely. That's one of the best places to begin. Why? Because if our people aren't motivated, our clients probably aren't going to be motivated to buy from us. So thinking about motivation and how it is critical in our employees today. First off, you can't motivate anybody. They have to motivate themselves. So we've got to create the right environment that's going to encourage that kind of thinking and feeling about an employee's own self-worth. So one of the first things you don't want to do if you want to build motivation in your people is don't play favorites. I see that so often in some of the companies I've worked with over the years, where the owner has a person who he feels or she feels that is just the best employee of the year or the month, whatever, and you can just see that they're getting special treatment. They're not disciplined as the others are. They get away with certain things. So my point is this: don't play favorites. It simply destroys motivation. So that's number one. Number two would be talk about your own mistakes before criticizing your employees. So often, an owner or a manager needs to role play a leader. Now, let's face it, leaders do make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. It's important to admit them when you make them. Why? Because the people can learn to trust you more. If we hide our mistakes or we pretend that we did something wrong, we ignore something that we did wrong, people know that, our employees know that, and it simply builds mistrust when you're unable to admit when you've made an error.
Tom, what are some other suggestions you would have for good ways to motivate employees?
Well, I think another good one is to just teach your team, your employees, to resolve their conflicts or openly talk about it with you so they can get some help in solving the problem. I remember one company, the owner just had this policy where if the employees had a problem, they just had to figure it out themselves. He wasn't going to step in. He wasn't going to take sides. Now, albeit that's a great way to begin to empower your people to resolve their conflicts, but sometimes they're not going to. And if that's the case, then that person, the owner, needs to step in and to get the two parties to talk about whatever the problem is and give them some help. Give them some help in solving the problem. I've seen it where it's just destroyed an organization's trust factor because certain things were not discussed, certain things were not resolved, and as a result, people just knew there was a subset of rules that were in place in the organization, and they just did not feel safe or did not feel that they could trust the owner to really make things fair, make things honest. So that would be three of them right there.
We know those are really terrific suggestions. Motivation is so important to small business success, motivating your employees. Anything else you want to mention here, Tom, as we got just a couple minutes left in this segment?
Sure. Do not sanction incompetence. I've seen it. You've seen it. Our listeners have seen it, where in an organization there are certain people that are working there, and for whatever reason, the owner will look the other way when it comes to that person's ability to perform. Okay, maybe they're good in one other area, but when it comes to a specific task, they don't follow through. Maybe they're responsible for updating the website. They're too busy to get around to that. So the owner just looks the other way, and everybody else suffers for that. So if there's an incompetence in your organization, address it. Make sure that person gets some help, is able to learn the skill sets they need, and be able to master their skill. If not, then let's have that person not have that responsibility.
We're talking with Tom Borg, business consultant, getting some great ideas on how small businesses can take leadership action to make their businesses more profitable.